And a very happy Friday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wings in Culver City.
John, at today's LA City Council meeting, which was in the Valley at the Van Nuys City Hall, Imelda Padilla, my LA City Councilwoman, was proposing turning a metro parking lot next to a high school into a RV storage lot so they have somewhere to put the RVs while they wait for the legal process to go out. But she was aware that the public might have concerns about this.
And we heard legitimate concerns about safety and visual impact. In response, we have requested 24/7 on-site security in addition to cameras. There will be a dedicated individual who will manage the site along with decorative fencing that incorporates art preventing blight.
Blythe?
Blythe? That's a city near Arizona.
Decorative fencing that incorporates art preventing blight.
Do you mean blight?
I think that's what she meant.
The neighborhood kids, the down-ass kids don't like it.
Every time she opens her mouth, it's like watching a drunk man drive down an icy road.
Broken windy theory.
And compared to the rest of the people on that council, she's actually one of the more common sense.
I'll say this about her. She seems to legitimately try to do her best.
Street pavements that are cooler.
Now, each of us has a different capacity to produce, and certainly hers is very different from the average person. But she seems to try.
Well, since Imelda got mentioned here at the top of the show, what do you say, Johnny? Is it time for the pledge?
All rise.
Mr. President, today's Tuesday. It's time for the flag salute.
Wonderful. If everyone could please rise for the flag salute. Councilwoman Padilla, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
To the republic for which
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice
and justice for all. Great. Thank you.
She is a Berkeley grad with a master's degree.
Oh, I wonder what those college days were like.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Happy Halloween, everyone. And I think, Randy, we have transitioned from the sexy nurse, the sexy fill in the blank, to now completely tasteless costumes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Did you see the costume that the actress Julia Fox wore?
You mean the one that's Jackie Kennedy after the assassination with blood splattered on her?
That would be the one.
Might be the most tasteless Halloween costume I've ever seen.
And that's saying something because we live in an area with a lot of people who work in hair and makeup in the movie industry, so they have the ability and the capacity to be just as brutal as they'd like to be.
Now, Johnny, I got a question for you since it is Halloween. We've had a tradition on this show for several years of regaling people with a classic horror story, specifically the horrors of when Barbara Ferrer shut down the city and the county of Los Angeles. Should we regale people with that story later in the show?
I think we should. Wasn't that the witch who stole Halloween?
Well, yes, it was, and I just found it. And we may have to play that in the 2 o'clock hour today.
It is a perennial classic.
Also, at 7 minutes that we don't have to do anything.
Because, you know, when COVID was around, you would die if you allowed your 5-year-old to go door to door trick-or-treating for fun-size Snicker bars.
She wanted you to wear the costume with a mask on top of it and do trunk-or-treating, which totally sounds like a way for a kid to get kidnapped.
Yeah, so much for public health, if that's what she was encouraging people to do.
She is the picture of health, though.
Next slide.
We missed those daily press conferences where she would start coughing uncontrollably every single day. And then there was the sniffing. Maybe she was in North Beach with Gavin.
I have no idea.
Well, around that same time, I think she was at Santa Cruz.
That's right. She was. She was a Northern California girl.
And that's a party. That is the party school.
UC Santa Cruz is one of these progressive institutions that doesn't believe in grading. They believe that grading students makes some students feel like they achieve more than others. So at UC Santa Cruz, it's all pass and fail.
Well, that's not surprising considering that UC Santa Cruz in the 70s and early 80s, while the other party schools were playing around with cocaine, UC Santa Cruz had a heroin problem.
Well, that explains a lot.
The evidence is like crystal clear on that.
Isn't she supposed to be like 32?
Barbara Ferrer. In fact, wasn't there a discrepancy when we looked this up before? Where
Yeah. We tried to find her age out, and it's been published as a different number just about everywhere you look. I guess we're going to have to cut her open and count the rings.
it doesn't even say it on her Wikipedia how old she is now. It is a active point of discussion as to how old the public health director is.
She's just kind of always existed, I guess.
Oh, here's a profile on her from UC Santa Cruz.
Do they mention her age?
They do not. You could say Barbara Ferrer's path to her job as Los Angeles County's top public health official began with what she believed was a betrayal. It was right after college, and Ferrer was earning $70 a week working as a community organizer with coalitions around homelessness.
Oh, God.
So she's been a grifter from the beginning.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, this next story is something that will not surprise anyone in this audience, but to the public at large, it is an eye-opener. And Randy, it is about the fires in Pacific Palisades and how they all could have been prevented.
Here's something I haven't said in a long time. LA Times reporting revealed something pretty shocking.
Yeah, we don't say that too often here.
But the LA Times, to their credit, reported that firefighters who were on the scene that were putting out the Lockman fire on January 2nd, they sent messages to leadership saying, "Are you really sure you want to call us back? The rocks are still hot and we can still see smoke." And apparently, leadership said, "Yeah, we're done."
Good job, Karen Bass.
Well, she wasn't even in town. For more, here is CBS LA.
Could the Palisades fire have been prevented?
Apparently.
The answer to that question is yes.
Well, a new report.
Also, this story is going to be a lot of ammunition for the defense attorney of the arsonist kid.
I could see him getting off because he definitely started a fire, but it wasn't that one.
Well, a new report tonight claims an LAFD supervisor ignored warnings that ultimately led to the inferno. LA Mayor Karen Bass calls this report in the LA Times tonight concerning.
The report
Concerning. Oh, thanks for that. Boy, you're right on top of it, aren't you?
It's not a namsy-pamsy thing.
LA Mayor Karen Bass calls this report in the LA Times tonight concerning.
The report raises new questions. Why about?
You know, she's going on for a live sit-down with Alex on CNN tonight. I wonder if this question's going to come up.
Oh, she's going to blame everything on that lesbian fire chief.
That's why she fired her, so she could be the scapegoat for everything.
100%.
The report raises new questions. Why LAFD crews left the scene of a small fire that eventually turned into the Palisades Inferno. CBS LA's Lori Parra is live in the Palisades with the report and reaction to it. Lori?
Well, Juan and Susie, more than one local has recently told us they really just want to focus on rebuilding. But after one of the worst and deadliest fires in LA history, others still have questions about how the city responded. Wildfire alert cameras detected a small fire early on the morning of January 1st called the Lackman Fire as it blew up, flames erupting in the hills over Pacific Palisades. Tonight, an LA Times report reveals text messages between responding firefighters who say they were told to leave the next day, even though they told leaders the ground was still smoldering and rocks remained hot to the touch.
What would be the thought process behind ignoring what the people on the scene are saying and telling them, nope, it's time to go?
Now, I know the LA Times just came up with this, but we reported on this a very long time ago because wasn't it Jennifer Van Laar who spoke to someone who worked for the fire department who said this is exactly what happened?
And then you had the whistleblower that spoke to Fox 11 that said the LAFD has equipment that's specifically supposed to detect fires like this, and they didn't use it.
If the fire department isn't doing this, what are they doing with their time? Getting cats out of trees for old ladies? This is what they're there for, to put fires out.
Well, I think we know why the fire department's resources may be stretched very thin, why leadership might be like, I got to pull you off of that because we got something else to deal with. Because, John, what is the thing the LAFD has to deal with more than anything else?
The bums. And we need to cut that out because the fire department is here to put fires out. They're not social workers. They're not here to give bums rides from one part of town to another. We got to put an end to this madness and let them go back to doing what they're paid to do.
In one text exchange, a firefighter wrote that crews told the chief it was a bad idea to leave, and the rest is history. Those same cameras were recording 1 week later when the Palisades fire exploded. Federal investigators have since concluded it was a holdover fire, a continuation of the first fire that continued to burn underground. Mayor Karen Bass said tonight.
And there was video days before where you could see smoke coming out of the ground. So it's not like this was something nobody knew anything about.
No, if you looked at the videos, it looked like you were in Kona, like there was an active volcano there.
Mayor Karen Bass said tonight in a statement, new information about the Lackman fire is deeply concerning. Congressman Brad Sherman spoke to us from Sherman Oaks.
Oh, no.
They went to him?
I guess he's the only one that said yes to the last minute call.
It's easy for us to sit here and say,
let me guess, his stance is going to be that government did nothing wrong here?
It's easy for us to sit here and say more attention should have been paid to this brush fire to make sure it was completely out.
It's your constituents that had their houses burned down. You should be the one saying that.
When you're in a one-party city, in a one-party state, they are so hesitant to criticize one another. It's what separates the mayor of San Jose, Matt Mahan, from the rest of them. You almost have to take part in some kind of pledge to not acknowledge reality if it makes someone in the tent look bad. But that's not how you solve problems. You need to make sure, at a minimum, this doesn't happen again. You need to make sure that these fires are fully extinguished. Otherwise, you can have another problem like this. And it seems like they're willing to acknowledge that this is how the fire started, but they're unwilling to blame one another for mistakes that were made.
Keep in mind, if it had not been that 7 days later there was unprecedented winds, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion.
Or if the leadership responded to the texts of the guys on the ground saying, hey, we should watch this, or at the very least, I don't know, pre-deploy because you know that this is where a fire was, and we knew for days that the winds were coming. The winds were not a surprise except to Karen Bass.
But I do know that it's the arsonist who bears responsibility for this fire.
I don't know about that.
His defense attorney is going to have a field day with all of this.
I don't know, with the evidence that is just being presented now before trial, how a jury is going to say, yes, this guy holds all the responsibility.
we rely upon both firefighters and their battalion leaders to make the right decisions.
LAFD leadership did not respond to our request for comment tonight on the text messages, but earlier this month, after federal authorities arrested 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderneck for intentionally setting the first fire, LAFD's interim chief said in a statement, holdover fires can be nearly impossible to detect.
It was on video.
There's text messages. The people who work for the fire department said we shouldn't leave here. It's not done.
Adding, the January 7 fire was not a rekindle or due to failed suppression, but the reactivation of an undetectable holdover fire under extraordinary wind conditions. Tonight, Mayor Bass said the city is leading a series of reforms, including changes to leadership, enhancing pre-deployment protocols, strengthening interagency coordination, upgrading communications technology, and expanding training at all staff levels.
I promise I won't burn down the city a third time. Let's not forget that she didn't learn any lessons when under her watch the 10 freeway melted.
And we still don't have an arrest in that arson.
Nope.
LAFD has repeatedly said they believed the Lackman fire was fully out. We are live in Pacific Palisades. I'm Laura.
Except for the actual firefighters who say, why couldn't we put this thing out?
There's a difference between the on-the-line cops, the on-the-line firefighters, and then the political leadership of those departments and of the city. We see this going on right now in places like Oakland, where the police chief and the police department, the mayor, doesn't want the cops to cooperate with ICE in any way, shape, or form. You talk to a beat cop, they have a very different attitude. But in this particular case, the political leadership in the city is on a very different plane than the people who were fighting the fires in the community. Clearly, they understood that this fire wasn't out, but the fire department wanted to say the box was checked and move on to something else, either because of limited resources or whatever. They didn't want the firefighters to stay there trying to put that fire out and fully extinguish it. And we all paid the price because of it.
Was fully out. We are live in Pacific Palisades. I'm Lori Perez.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And now that we're knocking on the door of the weekend, there won't be a live show on Saturday or Sunday. But, Randy, that doesn't mean you can't listen to us.
Well, let's say you're a glutton for punishment and you want to remember what it was like during those dark days of COVID where we had to cover Barbara Ferrer press conferences every single day.
Next slide.
Search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcast.
Next slide.
Whether it's the Apple Podcast app,
Next slide.
iHeart,
Next slide.
Spotify.
Next slide.
Search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes.
No, thank you.
Well, you still have a few days to vote if you want to weigh in on Proposition 50. That, of course, is the initiative that would produce a Democratic gerrymander so Gavin Newsom can produce 5 more Democratic seats in the House of Representatives. According to recent polls, it looks like Prop 50 is going to pass. Now, whenever you're promoting an initiative in California, you want it to poll over 60% to feel confident about it. Prop 50 hasn't done that quite yet, but it's getting real close. And based on the spending that we've seen on television, radio, mail, print, digital, it looks like both sides are of the belief that this thing is going to pass and it's not going to be particularly close.
Didn't help when Gavin Newsom said, I don't need any more money.
Yeah, you better not do that unless you're 110% convinced that you're going to win.
For more on the Prop 50 polling, here is ABC 7 Eyewitness News in Los Angeles.
Californians go to the polls next Tuesday with just one issue on the ballot, Prop 50, which would redraw some of the state's congressional maps. But as our Tim Caputo reports, if new polls are to be believed, well, it is very likely to pass.
Californians appear overwhelmingly in support of Prop 50, according to 2 new polls, both released just days before Election Day.
This is a yes or no on the ballot, but it might as well be a D and an R in terms of the way people responded.
The Public Policy Institute.
Well, it is a very specifically partisan issue.
Well, and the yes side made a concerted effort to turn it into a partisan issue because we're a blue state where Democrats outnumber Republicans, and they wanted to make it as partisan as possible.
The Public Policy Institute of California's latest poll shows 56% of votes.
That was a lot of P's.
He didn't pop any of them either.
The Public Policy Institute of California's latest poll shows
ABC7 has the money for good microphones.
The Public Policy Institute of California's latest poll shows 56% of voters would say yes on Prop 50 and only 43% voting no.
And that poll had 1% undecided.
It's very rare that you see a poll with only 1% of the population being undecided.
Mark Baldessari ran this statewide poll and said there was one big surprise for this special election.
The number of people who said that the outcome on Proposition 50 was very important to them. 68%. That's the highest I've ever seen anytime I've ever asked this question in the last 20 years.
I'm going to imagine when we do kidney bills every 2 years, the people that really care about the outcome of that bill is not 60%.
Oh, please tell me we're not doing that again.
We probably are.
Another poll.
That's the price of direct democracy, is we have to constantly vote on nonsense like that nobody understands.
Some years we get a whole handful of them, too.
Another poll released this morning by Berkeley's Institute of Governmental Studies shows an even wider gap. 60% for yes and only 38% saying no.
There's your 60.
Okay, if that poll is correct, it's definitely over.
Prop 50's redrawing of district lines could add 5 Democrats to the House of Representatives, a plan to negate Texas's redistricting plan that could add 5 Republicans. Representative Judy Chu, a Democrat, earlier this month saying this temporary redistricting is Democrats' best way to push back.
This temporary, sure.
It's not temporary. There is no way, if this thing passes, that independent commission is coming back, because they will make the argument, well, there is gerrymandering going on in Ohio, or there's gerrymandering going on in Indiana. And until they go to an independent commission, we're not going to go back to an independent commission. That commission is toast.
Politicians, generally speaking, do not like to give up power. And when they give themselves extra power with this vote, why would they want to give that up?
No, and I'll tell you what happens. So obviously there are the partisan ramifications of what happened. So the Democrats in Congress will benefit from California passing Prop 50, and the Republicans will lose seats. But in terms of California, if you just take the partisan nature of Prop 50 out of it for a second, if you are a city, let's say Mission Viejo, I think, is split into a number of districts. If you're a city and you're a sizable city and you're in one district, your member is going to pay attention to you. So if there's something that city wants or needs, if you need a bridge, if you need, I don't know, something for flood control, if you need something that is very specific to your city and you're in one district and you have a representative who is responsive to you, you can likely get it done. If you split Mission Viejo into 3 districts and you have 3 different members who are representing that one city, each taking a sliver, the odds of you getting that bridge are smaller and smaller and smaller. And even though everyone gets all worked up over the partisan stuff, the nuts and bolts of running the government requires things like bridges to be built and flood mitigation efforts to be done. And once you split cities into 3 different districts, good luck getting any of that accomplished.
This is just gratuitous election rigging by Texas, and so we have to fight fire with fire.
We've got to be gratuitous and rig it too.
Good job, Judy.
Those behind the no on...
I mean, go ahead and do it, but don't act like you have the moral high ground.
I'll tell you something about Judy Chu. I've always thought her brother was smarter. Big league.
Those behind the No on 50 campaign say while they appear to be down in the polls, they're far from out of this race.
What we've seen from looking at the data and our turnout model, and even anecdotally as we're talking to people who are speaking to voters, is that no voters are tending to vote later. They're holding onto their ballots and physically turning them in or want to vote in person.
There's still some time left for campaigning and convincing, but a whole lot of people have already voted via their mail-in ballot. In some counties, the numbers are huge. Take San Luis Obispo County. Nearly 40% of voters have already cast their ballot.
Look at the SLO.
Yeah, well, they'll be impacted.
An early indication.
How many districts are they splitting the Madonna Inn into?
An early indication that voter turnout for this special election will be high. Governor Newsom so confident Yes on 50 will win, he's reportedly stopped asking for donations. The word is clearly out, and Californians have taken their sides in what could be a record turnout for a single proposition.
This reflects very positively on the voters of California that so many people are engaged on both sides, on the yes and the no side. They're both saying this is very.
So there you go. The new polling shows one poll showing that Prop 50 passing with 56% support, another poll showing Prop 50 passing with 60% support.
And the other thing that's alarming to me is that the no side, the yes side is banking their votes right now. Those are money in the bank votes. The no side, many of them are planning on voting on Election Day, which means you're going to lose a certain amount of them if there's a game on that's exciting, if there is rain, if there's traffic, if they get busy at work, whatever the case may be. And there's more potential yes voters than no voters. And if the no voters vote on Election Day and you see a certain drop off and you see a certain number of them that don't vote for whatever reason, then this thing is going to be hard for them to beat.
Let's say how the numbers are going right now. These are the latest numbers as of today at 8 a.m. with 23.6% turnout. That's 5.4 million ballots returned out of 23 million ballots sent out. On the Democrat side, of 10 million ballots sent out, 2.8 million have come back. That's a turnout of 27.2%. Of the 5.8 million Republican ballots out there, 1.4 million have come back. That is a turnout of 25.5%. So even the turnout rate is lower, and obviously the registration number is half. And when it comes to no party preferencers, my people, 6.8 million ballots sent out, 1.1 million sent back, a turnout rate of 16%.
Have you turned yours in yet?
I'll do it this week. Oh, wait, I'm going to wine country. I'll do it on Monday.
All right. It's the John Phillips Show. Let's go to Linda in Burbank. Linda, hello.
Yes, I went to go vote no this morning on 15, was it 15, 20, 15, right? 50.
50.
50. And
15's the freeway.
Yeah. So I voted before at other times, and the polls opened, earlier in the morning, like 9 o'clock. So I show up at 9 o'clock. They didn't open until 10 o'clock in the morning. That's so ridiculous. 10 o'clock? I didn't realize it said on my, pamphlets and stuff, polls open at 10 o'clock. But that's ridiculous. 10 o'clock to open?
Well, this is why voting or relying on people to vote on Election Day in person is just such a losing proposition, because it's a special election. So if you're used to voting at the same church and you're used to the hours being certain hours, it's going to be different this time. So let's say you show up to the church where you normally vote at 7 o'clock in the morning, because that's when you typically vote. And they say, oh, no, it's not open here. You have to go to City Hall, or you have to go here, or you have to go there, and it doesn't open until 10. Well, guess what? You're just going to lose a certain number of those people. Not everyone is going to figure out where it is that they're supposed to vote and take the time that is necessary to do that, to show up, wait in line, cast a ballot, and then go to work. You're just going to lose a certain percentage of your voters if you do that.
This is the closest place.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it changes every cycle. Sometimes polling places stick around. Sometimes they get switched to someplace else. But in a special election, it's very different from a normal election. The hours are different. The places are different. And if you don't do your research before you go in and vote, you could end up sitting in the parking lot for an hour, or you could end up being sent someplace else. And that's just an additional hurdle in between no voters wanting to vote no and actually casting the ballot. Thank you very much. Let's go to Adolfo. Adolfo, hello.
Yeah, John, how you doing? Hello? You there?
Good. I'm here.
Yeah, I wanted to find out where all the money is going for Prop 50, because I don't see anything anywhere hardly. I mean, I don't see commercials anymore. I only got like a couple of flyers. And, I mean, I think they raised over $80 million, something like that. And just wanted to find out where all that money is going. Is somebody pocketing it or what's going on?
That's a very good question, because typically what happens is there's a big initiative or a race in California, and you see a lot of advertising from one side and not the other, and that's because one side has the ability to raise money because they're likely to win, and the other side has a very difficult time raising money because they're unlikely to win. In this particular case, both sides had money. The yes side had more than the no side, but it wasn't quite 2-1. You should have seen, with $80 million raised, you should have seen some evidence that they were spending money in ways that you would recognize. And I've got to say, I've spent a lot of time watching the World Series and the baseball playoffs. I've spent a lot of time watching the NFL. I spend a lot of time watching news, and I don't see much in terms of the no side. In fact, I get bawled out by people listening to this program who are upset that the yes side is buying time and the no side is not. Well, I have no control over how they spend their money. Zero control. And it's highly regulated in terms of what broadcast television and radio stations can do in terms of saying yes or no to political advertising. They even do things like setting the rates. The government does. So we have very little control over that. I can't force them to buy the time. I can't prevent the yes side from buying time. They're going to do what they're going to do, but the yes side was extremely visible, and the no side was in the witness protection program.
Yeah, I think even Gavin sent out an email saying to stop donating on the yes side because they met their budget or something like that.
Yeah, Newsom just threw the brakes on all of that. So he feels very confident that his side is going to win, and unfortunately, he's probably right. Thank you for the call, sir. All right. So I mentioned Mission Viejo before as a city that's going to be split into a number of districts. It's not just the city in southern Orange County, Randy. So is Clovis.
There's a neighborhood in Clovis that will be chopped up into 3 different districts if Prop 50 passes. For more on this, we go to ABC 30 in the Central Valley.
Clovis concerns with less than a week.
Clovis concerns. There's some alliteration. I know it's not great, but I'll take what I can get.
Clovis concerns with less than a week to go until California's special election. Action News heads to the Clovis intersection at the center of Prop 50, just as the city moves to formally oppose the measure.
Now we're having to lobby 3 times harder to 3 different people, as opposed to being able to have a singular voice carrying the message of the citizens of Clovis forward.
Thank you for joining us this evening for Action News Live at 6. Prop 50 changes congressional lines determined by Democrats across the valley.
One notable example is in Clovis, where the lines run right through backyards, splitting the city across 3 congressional districts, up from the current 1. Action News reporter Gabe Ferris went to that neighborhood this week as the election heats up.
It's such a strange thing, and there's so many examples of this. In Sonoma County, they're doing this. They're doing this in Clovis. They're doing this in Norco, where cities are now being split up because, sure, why not?
Imagine if that town is experiencing a problem with, Wi-Fi, and they need the FCC to do something to fix their Wi-Fi, and they go to their member of Congress. As of now, you'd call one person, and that one person could go to the FCC and fix the problem so the people of Clovis have high-speed internet. But now that you're split into 3 different congressional districts, good luck getting anyone to return your call if you have a problem like that.
Valley voters now casting their ballots in California's special election. From what I've seen, it can change how things go per party.
Proposition 50 would temporarily redistrict the state, allowing partisan lawmakers to draw the lines instead of an independent commission. It would shift congressional boundaries everywhere, giving Democrats an upper hand in next year's midterms. And in the heart of the Valley, home to a third of the state's Republicans in Congress, the city of Clovis would go from 1 congressional district to 3.
We're at the corner. All right, what do you think the population is of Clovis?
Well, probably not huge compared to big cities in Southern California, but it's probably a sizable city compared to the rest of the country.
It is 126,000, which is pretty big for being a city in the Central Valley. But congressional districts are like, what, 700,000 people? So this is really bizarre.
Yeah, you're diluting their power down to nothing.
We're at the corner of Gettysburg and Sunnyside Avenues, and it's this intersection right here that would become the dividing line for 3 congressional districts. Where I'm standing right now would be District 5, just to my left, District 21, and just to my right, District 20.
That makes sense.
Think about this again. Think about how bad the government is in California, how you can't get anything from Sacramento. You need something from Sacramento. It's hard because it's a one-party state and they don't care. You could still get things from the federal government, though, because those people pay attention to you. There are no term limits for those jobs. They want to stick around forever. Now you're going to take that away from us, too.
Now, the city council here in Clovis has formally voted to oppose Prop 50, but some voters tell me they would support it.
You can't look at this from just a local perspective.
Lonnie Johnson with the Fresno County Democratic Party says the state's hand was forced after President Trump called on Texas lawmakers to add Republican seats there.
And we have to have a seat at the table, and we cannot continue to be marginalized.
If Texas wants to make this right, they should send us Whataburger.
I hope this guy doesn't need anything from the VA.
By the Trump administration. And the only way we can do that is to put a check on the Trump administration. And that's what Prop 50 is about.
But in Clovis, Mayor Pro Tem Diane Pierce tells us Prop 50 would wreak havoc on the city. She authored that council resolution to formally oppose it.
We're going to be split into 3 districts. And that is the quintessential example of diluting the voice of the voters in Clovis.
Pierce telling us that as the proposed line split this one neighborhood into 3 districts, she fears their voices could be lost.
When they have other areas in their district that have a heavier percentage of their voters, it just dilutes our voice and our ability to bring our issues forward.
There you go. That's what's happening in Clovis if Prop 50 passes.